Hi friends! This is Dainty Tank. Thank you for joining me. Welcome back to Fatal 12. This is part 14 in our series. Poke the Totoro in the upper right card area to see the rest of the series. Today, it's a heat wave. Thus, Muscle Tank. And I'm actually monitoring my temperatures on my CPU and my GPU because of the fact that I'm on a laptop. I do all of this with a fairly minimal laptop. So just so you know, subscribe, hit the like button, support young creators. Yay! It's okay. It's Pride Month. I'm happy. You're happy. I'm happy you're here. Because I'm always a fan of not talking to myself. Although I'm quite good at it, I find. Meh. Anyways, let's get started. Last time we left off, we had Rinka and the old man facing down, and then the foreigner came out. And the foreigner had beat the heck out of Frederico. The amount of determination for going for his family jewels was amazing. That fight scene was great. Odette had to pull the bleeding and almost twice over dead Frederico out of there. Whoa. She did a number on him, and that number was ow. So, I'm going to try and record. If I have to stop partway, it's because my CPU's too hot. So, just letting you know. Let's go. Load. She seems like your average innocent kid, except for the fact that a couple hours before, she had a knife in her hand and stabbing a guy. Not as innocent after I think that, she gives an icy cold stare. Is she targeting you as well? Right then I feel like something sharp stabs into my brain. Sudden pain is so bad that my hands clasp my head on instinct. Never experienced a headache this painful before. This isn't good. I'm not sure about the cause, but the last thing I need in this situation is to leave myself vulnerable. Just as I think that... my head! What's going on? I'm not the only one experiencing this pain, it seems. Oh no. I just sigh as I take in the unfamiliar room. Mainly because I know the situation I'm in all too well. Rest assured, I've put nothing dubious in your tea. Not this time. He's so creepy. Thanks, but no thanks. Trust me, had I wanted to examine your ID and such, I would have done so already. This is my attempt at being hospitable. While taken back, I accept the cup and have a sip. There's not much taste to it. Well, it's to be expected when the drink is more yellow than green. Ew. As for why I'm in Suga's house, he brought me inside after that headache knocked me for a loop. Both myself and that girl were told to rest until the pain subsided, but she hasn't woken up yet. Knows her fidgeting in her sleep, which leads me to involuntarily gulping down the tea. Oh, rather impressive. Thank you for helping me, but I've stayed long enough already. Sure, just remember that my stance on the matter won't change. Yeah, I won't. He may not see me as his enemy, but there's no denying that we will ultimately have to compete with one another. Not to mention that the girl has made no effort to hide hostility towards me. Sure, I'm curious about the sudden headache that hit us when we met, but it's too dangerous to stay here. I'll be gone before she wakes up. These walls are thin enough that people outside would hear me if I screamed, but there's no guarantee they'd actually try to help. Shigetsugu? Are you feeling better? Yeah, sorry for making you worry. There's no reason to apologize. Have some tea. Thanks. I had noticed, intended on staring, but I can't take my eyes off them. It's a quick exchange, but the two of them really seem like an average grandfather and granddaughter. The warmth in his expression reminds me of how my own grandmother looks at me. I plan to leave as quick as possible, but after witnessing that scene, my feet feel stuck to the floor, which gives the girl an opportunity to turn her attention toward me. You. Keep my mouth shut. There's no reason to respond. I'm better off going straight home. Oh, you're still here. This girl may be a participant, but there's no excuse to glare at her that way, the way you did. She isn't our enemy after all. Make sure to apologize for your behavior before she leaves. Right, I was on edge because two others came here this afternoon to scrounge up information on you, Shigasugu. Well, when I saw you two talking, I thought she might be in cahoots with them. In any case, I do apologize. This isn't half-hearted. She's even bowing her head. You see scenarios like this often. The granddaughter does something and then apologizes when her grandfather tells her to. I would honestly believe that these two are family, had I not known their participants, even though they look so different. They're not just playing this part, everything about their interaction feels authentic. It just makes things harder for me. I'm not particularly upset about it. Don't worry. I can't blame her though, considering my attitude toward them. Of course, it's not like I've decided to let my guard down around them now. My standing by the front door to ensure my escape serves as proof. However, something she said piqued my interest. I have to confirm with her before leaving. Two others came here earlier, you said. They wouldn't happen to be a tall man and woman, would they? How do you know? I've been keeping an eye out for them as well. Her eyes widen. Shigasugu, on the other hand, listens without reacting. I take it you know who I'm referring to? They came by earlier, so yes. Beg your pardon. Oh, I haven't gotten to tell her yet. They're the reason why the house is a mess. I did notice some disorganization, but I assumed that's how they lived. I don't mean they're trash laying around, but there are a number of newspapers, magazines, and articles of clothing dotting the floor. You know numerals 3 and 11, don't you? I remember what they look like, sure. Mind explaining what happened? Completely lost my chance to leave now. You should listen to this as well, but in return, we would like some information. He motions for me to sit closer, probably because he knows I've lost my chance to go, too. Those two made their way into our house looking for you. It wasn't long after you'd left, actually. I was aware that they'd been scouting out the house from when I came last here. They probably have been in for several days. Knowing Shigasugu leaves in the morning, they figured he'd stick to a routine today as well. I'd make sure to chase them off, though. The woman was tough, but the man was no threat. Oh, she looks so happy! They look so happy. Don't know gender. They look so happy. What? You chased those two off? She's about my height, but she's definitely way younger and extremely slender. Judging from how she said numeral 11 was tough, I doubt she gave them a simple verbal threat. These are the same two who took Sonya's parents hostage, and if they'd listened to a kid's threat, they got away, but I did manage to severely wound number 3. We should be safe for a few days, thanks to that. So you resorted to violence again? I had no choice. It was the only way to keep them out. Besides, they attacked first. Wait a minute. You fought them? Like, how? I'm not sure. I just know how to fight for some reason. Is that even possible? And now I'm suspicious of them again. It's not impossible for her to make this up and attempt to reel information out of me. This one suffers from amnesia, you see. Should you be telling her that? It's hardly an issue. There's little for you to lose by telling her. I'm fine with it, but whatever, it should be okay. This child had nowhere to go when divine selection began. We started living together not long after our first encounter. I don't remember a single thing about what happened before divine selection. My name, my destination, even why I became a participant. I don't even know the context of my own personal cards, so there's no point in trying to uncover my cause of death and regret. Not only did I forget why I'm in Japan, but I didn't even know that I wasn't born yet here until I met Shigasuku. Amnesia. Something we have in common. The only difference is she's lost all her memories. I've forgotten bits and pieces prior to and after divine selection began, but not enough to actually affect my life. She, meanwhile, doesn't even know where she is. I can't even begin to imagine. I met Shigasuku pretty quickly though, so it's not as bad as you may think. She follows up with a pleasant smile. Okay, so she, according to the game. I find it hard to believe that someone with a smile like this could fend those two off. I've heard about how one retains their personal traits and skills when suffering from amnesia. The loss of personal memory doesn't influence muscle memory or something. But that means she had the ability to go toe-in-toe with those two even before the amnesia. Right. I'm sure there's more you want to hear, but I do believe it's your turn now. Turns his attention to me after cutting the conversation short, because he did mention some sort of reciprocity of information here. I decide to tell them what I know about those two. Oh. I fully expected participants to resort to extreme measures, but those two truly raised the bar. I tell them about what they did to Sonia and her parents, holding a child's parents hostage in order to make them reveal their information. Sheer brute force. However, I make sure not to mention that I have Frederico's name card. They never mentioned what cards they have, so fair's fair. I guess you had little choice but to retaliate then. See, I knew what I was doing. Yes, here, I'll pet your head as a reward. Oh, goodness. Do keep in mind that you are putting yourself at risk, though. Be more careful next time. Okay, you don't need to worry, though. I won't lose to anyone. Her attitude towards turns out to be far more childlike than her appearance. From my perspective, she's like a kid who gets carried away after being given a little praise. Still, what she said holds weight if she really was able to fight those two off. Her unpredictability is definitely a concern. Sonia, at least, accepted the fact that she was a participant. These two, on the other hand, care only about living out their lives like normal people. You should understand by now that we truly have no intention of taking part in this. Please don't get involved with us anymore. His choice of words makes me think he's somehow read my mind. I'm not sure if that's intentional, but I am stunned either way. Then I realize that they're not normal at all. Even real families would struggle to act as legit as these two do. Plus, they're both participants. This is insane. Those two won't give up either. They'll be back as soon as numero 3 is recovered, maybe even earlier. Eliminating us is the only way they can survive, so they have to return. Are you perhaps worried about us? You came here for our information, correct? Why would you bother to worry about us? I don't know, I just do, I guess. That's right. I'm far from normal myself. It's not quite the response I expected after all your talk about finding answers. You really are annoying, aren't you? Not that he's wrong. That's why he's been so calm this entire time. He's never seen me as a threat. Are you making fun of him? No, not quite. Ha. You need to worry. No need to worry about that. I see you went shopping earlier. What'd you buy? Oh, that washer thing got broken, thanks to those two. So I went out to get something for it. I'm not really sure what it is. The clerk recommended it. I'll assume you mean the washing machine. What's with the hose? They said you know what to do with it. Next to her is a washing machine hose. I recognize the logo on the back. She must have bought it at the one nearby supermarkets. I'm not one to fidget with machines, unfortunately. What are we gonna do if the washer broke then? Fortunately, there's a coin-op laundry close by. Coin-op laundry? You go there and pay to use their laundry machines. You said you'd cut down on other expenses for the sake of pachinko. We can't do that. I really want to say something, but I don't. She might actually believe what he says about about it being a battlefield. Shikasugu, meanwhile, takes the hose before returning his gaze toward me. You know how to fix this, don't you? That figures. In the back of my mind, I knew I'd end up being asked based on their exchange. I'll replace the hose when I'm going home after that. Thank you very much! Rinko, how do you know how to replace a hose on a washing machine? Ugh, gross. How long has it been since this thing was cleaned? Someone get me a pair of plastic gloves. Man, so much for going straight home. Even their drain's a mess. Ew! Mind helping me rinse this? Okay. No, not like that. Get the water from the bathroom. Ugh. And thus I face my fate of getting the torrent of the washing machine water to my face. Oh no! Not only did it get drenched, but the water inside the machine is absolutely filthy. I wish I could change this memory for one that I'm missing. At least I changed into my school jersey beforehand. My uniform is safe, but I can't say that's enough to make up for the experience. Honestly, this is probably the worst thing I've gone through since Divine Selection started. I've only got myself to blame, though. It never would have happened if I wasn't such a pushover. Naturally, I'm not too keen on using the bath at Shikasugu's place, so I head to a nearby public bathhouse. Yay! This place is huge! Can't believe Naomi was right. Nothing. This whole time, she was actually a he. Oh, okay. I should have known based on his stride and his outfit, but his outward appearance really and truly made him look like a girl. I guess I got Miharu to blame for warping my perspective. She carries herself more like a boy, so part of me sees it as normal, despite understanding she's a rare exception to the norm. She wears a maid outfit to work. I can only sigh at my own silliness. Youngsters like you shouldn't be sighing their lives away. You're to blame for it? How frightening. They both tagged along with me to the bathhouse. Guess I should be thankful that he's a boy. Now we won't end up alone in there. Making conversation with him would be a challenge by itself, but I can't hide my fear. Something's odd about how we both suddenly got headaches when we came face to face. It has to be related to our memories somehow. Come along. Okay. He scuttles along behind Shikasugu. Now I think about it, Shikasugu hasn't referred to him by name. Maybe to ensure that I don't get my hands on his name card, but it's possible that he simply just doesn't know it. I'm not quite sure how I reached that conclusion, but it might explain why I find their relationship so abnormal. Treating someone as family despite not knowing their name. Yeep, I got some weird looks if I mutter stuff like that to myself here. Less thinking, more washing. Oh, bath scene. Phew. Sigh pours out of me as I sink into the warm water. This time, it's a relaxed one though. I usually just shower at home, so it's been a while since I gotten to enjoy a bath like this. It's been even longer since I was last at a bathhouse. I was still in elementary school, so I came with my gran. Gran, I whispered quietly so that the sound of the faucet will drown it out. I still message and talk to her over the phone, but I haven't seen her at all since March. She's my one and only family. I can't blame her since she has other relatives, but it's hard not to feel lonely sometimes. Then again, I should be thankful that she's away right now. Otherwise, she'd run the risk of being taken hostage by people like numeral 11. Don't worry about life being targeted, at least. Not like it can talk. Next time I'll be able to see her is over summer vacation. I'll be sure to pay her a visit. Summer vacation. Assuming I don't get eliminated, Divine Selection is scheduled to end around then. So I won't even get to see her again if I'm eliminated. However, being the sole survivor means I won't be able to see Miharu ever again. Sonya's words come to mind. It's possible to alter fate, so it lets us both make it through together. There are still too many unknowns within Divine Selection, but I feel like I know which answer I should be pursuing. Thinking about Sonya causes my eyes to tear up, but I suck it up and keep them from falling. I need to focus on what I can do right now. Which is taking a bath? Things don't go quite as well as expected, but I can still make the most of this situation. That's the conclusion I've come to. My initial plan was to get my hands on Shugasugus and the boys' information, but I can leave that alone for now. I'm pretty sure they don't think poorly of me. In that case, it's possible for me to form an alliance with them. Doing so would put me on level ground against the likes of Ellen numeral 11. However, I'm not convinced that I have it in me to eliminate those two when the time comes. I feel like I'd struggle with it even now. I lack Miharu's determination. Even if Sonya had asked me to eliminate her, I highly doubt I would have been able to. Let's think about something more pleasant. Like the fireworks display we all promised to go see, for example, which happens to take place after Divine Selection ends. It's impossible to influence my thoughts away from Divine Selection, so I resort to counting the droplets of water as they fall from my hair. That's a really interesting thing to think about. Is there any reason you waited for me? Both Shikasugu and the boy were perched on the sofa by the entrance. The boy had fallen asleep with his back against it, though. This one was rather adamant, you see. Fell asleep before you finished, though. Hardly surprising with that frame. Must be exhausted after fighting those two large foreigners. You could have just left with them. No, you could have just left with them. Come now. He was giddy about being able to speak with someone around his age. I can only assume he has no friends. Before. Now he's being avoided by those in our neighborhood. Are he and I really that close in age? He's not much taller than me, but his attitude and facial expressions make him seem years younger. Give the boy another look up and down. I honestly find it hard to believe that someone like him can make those two retreat. Which is understandable, but something similar happened before. I wait for him to follow up, but he offers a smile instead. I'd like to go on, but boy am I thirsty. Could you give me some coffee milk? Hate to wake him up by moving. Sure. I return after grabbing something for both of us. Oops. I only brought enough to pay for the bath. Mind if I pay you back later? This is intentional, isn't it? Ho ho, not at all. Unimpressed as I am over the old man mooching off someone my age, better off forcing him to keep talking. It wasn't too long after I'd met him. He had woken up in the middle of the night, so I took him out for a walk. I had to use the restroom when we were out, and fortunately a nearby park had one. After taking care of business, I returned to find him gone. His curiosity had gotten the better of him, leading him to chase the small animal. As I wandered around looking for him, 3 young men approached. Not friendly youngsters either. They were the type to prey on old men. Even I'm aware that I don't look well off, but I doubt they cared. They were satisfied with any target weaker than them. One punched me before demanding I give him my money. Another stood by, bat in hand. That's awful. However, he came back during that. After processing the situation, he asked me a simple question. He asked, "Are these people trying to hurt you?" Part of me regrets saying yes. As soon as I did, he wasted no time in hospitalizing all three. I am mesmerizing, as he describes the event in detail. He dodged a bat swing and ripped it from the assailant's hands in one motion, following up with a solid blow to the face. Then he struck the legs of the second one with said bat before smashing them in the face as well. The one who punched Sugasugu tried to run, but the boy spun around to build momentum before flinging the bat straight at his head. He finished by knocking the final attacker off his feet, jumping on his back and strangling him into unconsciousness. Holy Whoa! I don't even have the chance to make him stop. There's no doubt Sugasugu would have experienced far worse had the boy not shown up. They would have beaten him regardless of whether or not he gave them money. He approached me afterwards and casually suggested we go home. I was gobsmacked, to say the least. But I wasn't afraid. If anything, I was relieved. I knew I could rely on him not to buckle under the threat of violence. Do you think his body is programmed to fight like that? Most likely. He has to be aware of his own size and frailty. I can only imagine what fearsome things lay dormant in his memories. There's simply no way a child could fight like that without proper combat training and experience. Yeah. He probably is sitting there, like, suppressing a trauma. It's probably like Rinka. Child soldiers in countries rife with combat come to mind. Yeah. I'm only aware of what I've seen in the news, but there have been plenty of pictures featuring kids holding weapons and engaging in warfare. Assuming Shikasuku is right, then he might be from such a place. Could explain his cause of death too. Being exposed to fire seems like it'd be common. Exposed to fire? Truly believe this kid is kind-hearted by nature, though. He fights not for himself, but for my sake. Is that your way of differentiating him from numerals 3 and 11? There is no comparison, especially not against people I don't know. I'm simply saying what I believe. I can't say I know much about him, and yet for the same reason, I can see where Sugasugu's coming from. Well, we should probably mosey along. Would you be so kind to carry him back for me? I'd hate to wake him up now. He's doing this on purpose, I know he is. Just like that, I ended up carrying the boy home. We're both a similar size, so I need to stop and catch my breath every now and then again. The thing I've noticed is that he's more built than you'd expect. Apologies for making you do this, but my power back just won't allow it. Can you just be quiet, please? How intimidating. Sugasugu isn't the most pleasant person to deal with, I've gathered. That aside, this kid must be as young as I think, based on how deeply asleep he is. Mom, why did you have to die? Oh. I hear him mumbling in his sleep. His speech differs a fair bit from how he speaks with Sugasugu too. I stopped dead in my tracks. This might be what I've been looking for. Something the matter? I had to take a break. I move his attention away from me with that answer. Doesn't seem like he's noticed what just happened. I repeat the boy's words in my head as we're walking along. It has to be his regret. I'm going to assume that his amnesia doesn't restrict the contents of his dreams. In the same vein, it's no stretch to say that he lost his mother at the young age due to where he was raised. Which means his regret shouldn't be too hard to guess. I do my best not to think about it any further though. Best save it for when I get home. Shugosugu might realize that I've obtained numero 4's regret card if a book starts to glow here. Ideally, I'd want to avoid making them wary of me. I can feel the sweat dropping down my brow. Not from my nerves. It's because I'm exerting myself right after a hot bath. I have to take a shower once I'm home and done with this. The bedroom's on the second floor. Could you take him up while I put on some tea? Geez, fine. Say again as being forced to carry the boy upstairs. But despite carrying him the whole way home, he's been nothing but sighs. Oop. Oh. I got a disco light. Here it is. Bedroom door is half open already, so it's easy to find my destination. Approach the futon and lean down to let him off. He grabs onto my arm. Gah. He must be confusing me with the mom appearing in his dream. His tiredness gets the best of him though, and he lets my arm go right after. Strength of his grip was shocking. Guess he is a boy after all. Even though he still looks like a girl to me. Honestly, I wouldn't blame anyone for thinking it. Just look at that face. On the flip side, probably be feeling pretty nervous right now if he looks both his age and his gender. I might be around 2 or so years younger than me, so even if they were a case, I'd probably be fine. What's that? I notice a half-open drawer out the corner of my eye. After I ensure that Sugu isn't coming upstairs, I make my way over to it. Sure, it's half-open drawer, but it's dark in here. Can't see inside, so I open it nice and slow. I was worried the noise occupying it would wake the boy up, but it didn't. I can still barely see inside after opening up, so I light up with my phone. Photos? The shelf is full of old photos. Easily over 100. Upon closer inspection, some are relatively new. The contents are mostly the same, family pictures. Featured in them are an old couple, their grandson, and his parents. The grandfather has to be Shikasugu. Not one to miss any details, are you? My shoulders stiffen in response to the quiet voice from behind me. You sure we're taking your time, so I came up to call you down for tea. Come. All I could do was nod without turning around. Much like this afternoon, he has made tea for me. But unlike then, I take my time drinking it. Too bad that doesn't help make it taste any better. I'm sorry for looking at those photos without your permission. I'm the one who left it open, so there's no need to apologize. I might as well say that you're free to eliminate me too while I'm at it. What? There's certainly nothing wrong with an old man like myself getting a few more years out of my life, but truth be told, I'm not concerned about it. With just that, I understand the meaning behind those photos. That's your regret, isn't it? Family that he held so dear. There are a few picture of them abroad as well. He's living alone now, but it's likely that the rest of his family stayed here at some point. An old man like me has no reason to have hope for the future. But why? I catch myself wishing to go back to those days. I regret rooted, neither in the present nor the future, but the past. Parsa said that one's regret represents the future, but that's not always the case. Regret is born from something you can't bring yourself to give up on. Uh-huh. In that case, it's logical that wanting to go back to better times can become one's regret. Can't go back to the past, though. Oh, I'm aware. Being with him has helped me to overcome my loneliness, though. It brings back some good memories. Can you still say that, knowing it won't last? I believe we see things different. Such a reality doesn't scare me in the slightest. His tone makes it clear that he has no ulterior motive. My sole concern is whether or not he will be able to live a happy life should he survive divine selection. I hope you're not expecting an answer from me. You might have an idea regarding his regrets, yes? This question takes me by surprise. I've heard him mumble in his sleep a number of times as well. Those must be the memories that hide deep within his psyche. I was just surprised over something as we were walking back. I figured he hadn't noticed at the time, but he simply chose to keep quiet. This old man really is a mystery. Both of our regrets are similar. Both are rooted in the past, never to come to fruition. That's why you're worried about whether or not he can find happiness after all this is over. Don't tell me that's really why you wanted me to carry him. Heavens no. Even I wouldn't do something that cruel. It was pure coincidence. He laughs it off, but doesn't quell my suspicion. What exactly is your goal here? Nothing's going to come from letting him control the conversation. I'm not sure if he's doing it on purpose, or if it's just the kind of person he is, but I'm over it. Could I ask you to make him some dinner? You want to repeat that? How about this? You do me this favor just once. I'll tell you my cause of death. You're missing the point here. Oop. All I want is to help him overcome his regret, even if just a little. Pause briefly before explaining. Cooking isn't my forte, to say the least. I've only been able to provide him with ready-made meals from convenience stores and supermarkets. Can't you just try and cook him something, then? Ho, my daughter-in-law once said the same thing. So you did live together at some point then? Only for a few years after my son's marriage. My wife passed away sometime before then, so both of them came to live with me. They left not long before my grandchild was born, though. I haven't seen much of them since. There's a twinge of sadness in his voice as he recalls the past. His regret may have come about during the time when they were living here. I've never seen him look so emotional. That's all I needed to confirm that his regret is rooted in those days. Goodness, we certainly got off topic. What I'm trying to say is there's no point in it being my cooking. But, wait a minute. Finally catch on as to why he's so particular about this. His regret. Wouldn't happen to be his mother's cooking, would it? Light spills forth from my back the moment I ask. Oh no! It has to be the response to my having figured out number 4's regret. A regret he'll never be able to fulfill. Shikasuku catches his eyes over in my back for a moment, likely having understood what just happened before continuing. I'm not sure whether he had the opportunity to taste his own mother's cooking or not, but something unexpected happened one day. When we were dining out, he was watching TV there, where one of those everyday shows were airing. One of those characters with the mother of a child around his age. There was a scene involving both where the child looked elated while eating his mother's cooking. Quite your run-of-the-mill scene for such shows. But he started to cry as he watched it. He wasn't even sure why, so it must have subconsciously stirred up forgotten memories. He'd watched TV plenty before that, but this was the first time he'd had such a reaction. Having realized what was going on, my book began to glow, thus obtained his card. So what, I'm supposed to be surrogate for his mother? Don't you realize how unreasonable that is? Of course I do. That's why I offered up my cause of death in exchange. His tone turns far more coercive, likely an attempt to pressure me into agreeing. Sudden change is surprising, but hold my ground and stare him down. This isn't an attempt to hold my surprise or fear. I'm just really angry with him. You only have yourself to blame for your regret. I'm aware of that too. His painful acknowledgement is followed by him lowering his head. He lowers it so far that his head almost touches the floor. I realize now that treating this like a deal won't work. But please hear me out. It might simply be an attempt to satisfy my own ego. Even so, I'd like to make something for him. I need time to think. What's the correct way to respond to this? It's entirely possible that numero 4 won't be able to fulfill his regret even if he lives through this. Not to mention that there's no way my cooking would help him do so. What happens after I do all this? Assuming I get Shikasuku's cause of death and use it to eliminate him, what would happen after that? Is he even thinking that far ahead? I want to do anything I can for him. That statement alone tells me that he isn't. At the same time, it tells me how much he cares. It's the same mindset I had towards Sonya, after all. I'll do it. Really? On one condition. It's already late, so I'll make dinner for him tomorrow. But after that, I'm cutting all ties with you both. So don't hold it against me if I eliminate either of you down the line. Make sure to tell him this as well. Understood. As I have said, I have no intention of going after other participants in the first place. But keep in mind that I won't be able to stop him should he decide to eliminate others. A brief tense silence follows his claim. He isn't bluffing, that much I can tell. That's fine. It pretty much describes the situation as it stands. An answer without much hesitation. The best option is to lower the chance that I become their target. Granted, I've already settled on agreeing to this proposition before taking that into consideration. His desire hits too close to home for me to refuse. Perhaps life would have been different had I been able to handle things like this in the past. He mutters under his breath. He likely intended for me not to hear him. I'm going home. For real this time. I'll be back around 6 p.m. tomorrow. Don't worry about shopping, I'll handle it. Very well. It's about time I wake him up too. I watch as he pulls himself up from his feet. Is something the matter? You still owe me for the coffee milk. While you're at it, I want money for tomorrow's shopping too. You'll get your change back when I arrive. Stingy youngsters. It's common courtesy. I agree to cook for him, but I certainly won't be preparing a 5-star meal. I'm sure the Shiga Suguru will wiggle out of paying me back unless I demand it right now. So there you have it. He eventually gives in and hands me 3 1,000 yen notes. After that, I can finally leave. Woohoo! So that was a lot. Yeah, I was about to say, you're about to have a lot of feelings because things just happened and you're probably going to get some cards and think about things. All good stuff. I enjoyed this. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're having fun with the series and you should subscribe and tell others about the Dainty Tank channel because anything and everything about getting the more people to just kind of come hang out with is good. I love doing what I'm doing with the Dainty Tank channel. Right now, I'm doing everything on basically a basic budget that I can, but the more subscribers, there's actually a threshold. Tell you why I'm doing this. There's a threshold for partnership with YouTube. Once you hit that partnership threshold, it will help me pay for more games as well as better equipment. So that way I can actually do things with, do more things like what we're doing here. So, with that, I hope you're enjoying this. I hope that you come back and you hang out with me again because I'm having a grand old time with this game. And I'm sure you are too. It's unique, it's fun, and you get to see Frederico stabbed in the crotch. It's great. So with that, I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye!